this is too. Playing black, we're playing white. We're going to go with e4 in this one. You were going to show us some theory or a link. Oh, I was going to show you how... Oh, I'll show it after this one. I'm sorry. Show you the... how to find the article that I've wrote about how to improve at chess. I'll show it right after this one. Sorry about that. For the theory part, I think I was going to show the theory about the moves against c3. I think I did that at the analysis there. But I'll show you guys the article right after this one. All right, knight c6. We're going to go with f3. Keep the center defended. This is a very typical move in the Sicilian, f3. Keep e4 guarded, stuff like that. We're going to go with knight to b3. Also, pretty soon, probably queen e2 and bishop e3. We got to get this queen off this diagonal so that we can castle at some point. So we're going to go queen e2. I'm blocking in the bishop for the moment, but I might also play g4 and put the bishop on g2 at some point. Next move is going to be bishop e3, and then probably castling king side, or queen side, actually. I'm bad at offense, solid defensive player, but offense... you don't need to be a great attacker necessarily to be a good player. I would kind of say it's more about... you can definitely be a good defensive player and be a strong player. That's what lots of grandmasters are known for, actually, being good at defense over offense. We're going to play a4 here. a4, a5. We're stopping b5. We're going to play a5 and then maybe like bishop b6 or something. Like the Berlin defense? Yeah, that's definitely a popular opening. You do need to know a lot of the ins and outs of the opening, but it is a popular opening by all means. Go queen d2. Queen f2 is also okay. Yeah, let's go with queen f2. Castles, okay, bishop to e2. We're gonna get castled ourselves, and pretty soon play like knight a4 to b6 is the kind of short to long-term plan here. Knight a4 to b6. He's got to move this knight if this bishop's ever going to move. And once he moves this knight, then bishop to b6 will come. That's the idea, at least. Okay, he goes here. He wants to play knight c4 to attack my bishop and pawn on b2. Now, we don't really want to allow that too easily. This might look like a little bit of a weird move, but we're going to play rook a4, stopping the knight from going to c4, and then just get castled. We might also play f4 and then rook c4, like a super rook lift on the queen side. So, okay, plays knight c5. I think we can just do... I think we can just take it and then play f4. If the knight goes back to c6, we have bishop takes c5. So he has to go back to d7 or g6, one of these two spots. And then we'll just castle, most likely. If your opponent doesn't know the opening, they can usually work around it at higher levels. Somewhat, it kind of depends. If they don't know the opening at higher levels, they're probably in for a bad situation. Bishop d7, bishop d7, bishop d7. Guess we could just retreat. We want to keep the A pawn defended. We're going to play knight A4 at some point to attack C5. Probably just rook D1, something like that. All right, we're just playing G3. Kick the bishop back. He wants to play... He wants to take there, maybe? Not entirely sure. I think this is just a free pawn, though, right? Bishop takes pawn. I think it's free. We're hitting the rook on F8. And now we can also play bishop to B6. Hit the queen. Once the queen goes probably to C6 or something like that. Now we can almost trap the queen. We can almost trap her. E5, the bishop retreats, and then like bishop F3. The queen's running out of squares here. Yeah, just like Jim Jam said, just use the opening principles for the most part. E5, bishop retreats, bishop F3, queen C4. Queen C4, rook D1, rook D4. I think we're getting a queen trap here in a moment, I believe. Bishop here to F3. Queen C4 is forced. We can also just take on B7, which would be winning pretty easily, too. I guess there's two different ways to go about this right now. We could play rook D1 and then go rook D4 to trap the queen. Let's do that. We're also hitting the bishop on D7, so we have two threats, and then rook to D4 looks like it just traps the queen here. Take the queen, they take here, we take back. So we're up a piece, maybe not a full trap queen, but we're up a piece. We take with check and then take here. Up a piece, this is pretty much over at this point. Rook D1, trade off the rooks on D8, or just play rook D7, hit the pawn. Knight E4 is also good. Knight D6, maybe. Knight D6, next move. Yeah, black is dead here. Yep. All right, so we'll analyze this one. Let's see. All right, so we played E4, C5, Knight F3. F3, like I said, usually a good move in this opening. Guards the pawn, stops any kind of Knight G4 nonsense. He plays Queen B6 to attack the knight. So we got options here. We can retreat it, we can trade it, we can play like bishop to B5. I like just retreating the knight, and then I can go try to attack the opponent's queen pretty soon. So A6, E3, bishop E3, played A4. If I castle, black can play like B5, and then start maybe trying to attack on the queen side. I played A4 just to slow that idea down, and then A5 to stop any kind of B pawn moving. He played knight D7, I played queen F2. He still can't move the pawn because I'll take on passant and I'm up a pawn. So he castled, I played bishop E2, knight E5. Rook A4 stops knight C4. He played knight C5, we take. Now this pawn ends up being kind of weak, he can't guard it with the B pawn. F4, knight G6, get castled, bishop D7. I was thinking about rook C4 to keep attacking this guy, but he just picks up the pawn, I take here. It's just kind of an equal trade at the end of the day. He can just go back here, for example. So I figured we'll just keep the A5 pawn on the board. Bishop H4, G3, bishop F6. This allows us to pick up the C5 pawn and then kick the queen. We play E5, kicking more pieces, more threats, and then rook D4. He played bishop c5, which is about the only way to defend against this. Without fully losing a queen, he just loses a piece. But at the end of the day, we're just up a piece, and this is pretty much over at this point. How should he play differently is the question. He needs to get this bishop developed earlier, and I'm not sure if knight to c5 is the best way to go about things. He should play just like knight f6, castle, bishop d7. I go back. He plays like rook here or something like that. Something like this. It's a little uncomfortable for black, but it's definitely not worse, not losing or anything like that. He'll play bishop c6. He'll work to play d5, stuff like that. So we'll move on to another game now. We're up to